Manny was a clownfish who had always felt uneasy about his small stature and unthreatening visage. Sure, the painted stripes and bright orange scales had their charm, but Manny was tired of being gawked at for his cuteness rather than respected for his ferocity. In the grand hierarchy of reefs, clownfish occupied a peculiar niche, famous for being adorable, associated with an odd affinity for anemones, and known to bring smiles to the faces of divers. But all Manny desired, more than anything, was to be seen as a formidable presence in the undersea world. And that's when the lionfish arrived on the scene. It happened one brisk summer morning as Manny wove through the swaying coral in search of breakfast. A new fish had ventured near the reef, gliding in with majestic ease and an air of natural dominance. Lionfish were known for their elaborate fins that flared out like a regal mane, with sharp spines that could deliver a nasty sting. Their dramatic stripes and confident stares left everyone properly intimidated or at least cautious enough to keep a respectful distance. Manny watched, simultaneously awestruck and envious, as smaller fish darted aside to make way. There was no confusion about the lionfish's place in the oceanic pecking order. Manny sighed and thought to himself, if only I had spines like that. Then no one would push me around or call me cute again. He swam over to his favorite puffy anemone and told it all about his envy of the lionfish's magnificence. The anemone, not the greatest conversationalist, merely swayed in the current, offering a half-hearted jiggle that might have been interpreted as a supportive pat on the back. Manny frowned. He wanted advice, and that required an actual talking friend. I know who to talk to, Manny said resolutely. Jelly will help me figure this out. He headed off to find Jelly, a wise, if a bit absent-minded old jellyfish who had been around the reef for longer than anyone could remember. Jelly floated near some rock formations, gently pulsating as fish weaved around the gelatinous creature. Manny approached, bobbing in anticipation, eager to lay out his grand problem and get practical guidance. Jelly, he called, I need your counsel. You've seen everything under the sea, right? The translucent old jellyfish jiggled thoughtfully. I've seen a fair bit, Jelly replied, voice a quivering echo under the water. What ails you, Manny? I want to look like a lionfish, Manny declared, mustering every drop of determination in his voice. I want to be a lionfish, or at least something scary like one. Right now I'm just a clownfish. Even uttering the word clownfish made Manny scrunch his face in distaste. Jelly paused before responding. Beads of luminescence flickered in time with the jellyfish's silent thoughts. Well, Jelly finally said, you are what you are. No paint job or decorative fins are going to change that. But if you're desperate, I recall seeing some interesting characters in the reef that might help you with illusions. Manny brightened and hopped a bit in the water. Illusions? That sounds perfect. If I can't really become a lionfish, maybe I can at least trick everyone into thinking I am. He thanked Jelly and zoomed away, ignoring the jellyfish's parting words. Remember who you are at heart, Manny. No costume can replace authenticity. Manny, in his excitement, didn't look back. He made a beeline for one of the strangest corners of the reef, Pinto the pufferfish's workshop. Pinto was famous for crafting elaborate disguises, illusions, and contraptions to amuse or confuse the local fish. Manny had heard rumors that Pinto once outfitted an eel with a shark fin, all to prank some unsuspecting snorkelers. If anyone could transform Manny into an intimidating presence, it would be Pinto. The workshop was a patchwork of coral spires stuck with random bits of seaweed, shells, and colorful sponges. Manny hovered outside, scanning the watery clutter for signs of Pinto. Suddenly, a brown, spiky ball inflated to double its size and let out a bubbly laugh. Looking for me, Manny? Pinto asked, floating into view. Manny nodded. I hear you're the pufferfish with the power to change how us reef dwellers look. I need your help. Pinto deflated to a slimmer shape, puffing out a series of bubbles that seemed to form question marks before they popped. Spit it out, Manny. Or squirt it out, I guess, since we're underwater. I want to appear more intimidating, like a lionfish. Think stripes, spines, the works, Manny explained, desperation creeping into his voice. I'm tired of fish laughing at me just because I'm bright orange with silly stripes. I want them to tremble. I want them to move aside and let me pass." Pinto whistled. "A lionfish, huh? That's no small request. Lionfish are the epitome of dramatic flair. But hey, if it's illusions you want, illusions you'll get." Without waiting for Manny's reaction, Pinto rummaged through a chest made of hollowed coral, scattering bits of dried seaweed and small shells. Finally, the pufferfish extracted a frilly contraption that looked like limp sea spines attached to a harness. "Here, try this on," Pinto said, offering it to Manny. It took some effort to wriggle into this lionfish suit. Manny felt straps constrict around his dorsal fin, snugly hugging his body so that spiny fronds stuck out on each side. Pinto then grabbed stripes of kelp, expertly painting them with pigments harvested from multicolored corals. "We'll need proper stripes," Pinto said, excitement mounting. "I've got a special adhesive harvested from sea cucumbers that'll keep these stripes in place." For the next half hour, Manny stood there while Pinto meticulously plastered stripes of painted kelp along his body. The effect was, admittedly, quite flashy. Manny's reflection on a passing, shimmering fish scale revealed something that almost sort of maybe looked like a lionfish if you squinted your eyes and knocked your head sideways. "I feel different," Manny murmured, eyeing the new spines flaring out from his sides. He looked at Pinto with gratitude. "Thank you. This is exactly what I need. Just wait until everyone sees the new Manny." Eager to test out his intimidating new persona, Manny swam out of the workshop, eager to show off the transformation. The first fish he encountered was a grouper named Gus, infamous for his no-nonsense attitude. Manny lurked behind a sea fan, waiting like a predator. "I'll show Gus I'm not to be trifled with," Manny thought. He cleared his throat, puffed out his chest, and launched himself forward with spines bristling. "Behold, I am Manny the lionfish," he declared haughtily. Gus eyed him, unimpressed. The kelp stripes were sagging a bit now, and the bubble adhesive gave off a pungent odor. Manny tried to flare his new spines menacingly, but one of them flopped over, half detached. An awkward silence filled the water as Manny frantically tried to push the spine back in place. Gus squinted, unimpressed. Manny, did a chunk of seaweed just roll off your back?" Manny's face blazed with embarrassment. Well, as much as a fish face could show. Indeed, one of the adhesive stripes floated down to the sandy floor, leaving behind a smudge of pinkish glue on Manny's scales. This is just a minor technical glitch," Manny stammered. He tried to regain an air of menace, but Gus was already guffawing. With a dismissive wave of his fin, Gus swam off, shaking his head and chuckling. Manny sank near a tuft of seagrass, crestfallen. As soon as he'd worked up a sliver of bravado, it was obliterated. He spent the rest of the day struggling to maintain his cobbled-together lionfish appearance. The glue loosened over time, and more stripes peeled off with each choice current. Curious parrotfish swam by to watch Manny's predicament, and giggles spread through the reef like a wave. "Look at Manny," they said. "He's pinned seaweed to himself to be scary." Feeling utterly humiliated, Manny tore off the remaining kelp stripes. "It's no use," he muttered. "Any attempt to dress as a lionfish is going to fail if I can't muster the lionfish's aura of intimidation." Deciding he needed a different approach, Manny resolved to consult Barry the Barracuda, well known for his tips on exuding confidence. Barry, a sleek predator with a mouth full of dagger-like teeth, was drifting lazily near a sunken anchor chain, scanning the waters for potential prey. Manny gulped. Approaching a barracuda felt like an adventure in its own right, but Manny's desperation outweighed his caution. Summoning his courage, the clownfish pressed forward. Barry blinked slowly at Manny's approach. "You're either very brave or very foolish," the barracuda said. "Clownfish don't willingly swim up to me often." "I need your help," Manny declared, trying to keep his voice from shaking. "I'm not here to be your dinner, obviously. I want to learn how to project an intimidating presence, like a lionfish." Barry circled Manny, sizing him up. A sly grin formed on the barracuda's face, revealing those terrifying pointy teeth. "Project intimidation, huh? Well, for starters, don't show fear. Keep your fins raised, keep your eyes locked. Predators sense fear long before they see you wobble. Manny tried to mimic Barry's posture, raising his fins and setting his mouth in what he hoped was a grim line. Barry's grin widened. "You look like you're trying not to burp," Barry said. Even so, Manny did his best to keep still and retain an unflinching stare. "So, is that all?" Manny asked, exhaling water slowly to maintain composure. Barry swam in lazy circles around Manny. "Hey, there's more. You have to move with purpose," he said, flicking his tail to demonstrate a swift, fluid motion that spoke of lethal capability. Every flick of the fin should be confident. But Manny, intimidation alone isn't enough. If the other fish suspect it's all an act, they'll lose respect for you in a heartbeat. Manny tried to swirl dramatically as Barry had done, but he spun himself into a clump of seagrass and got tangled. Thrashing around only made the situation worse, as the grass wrapped around his fins. Barry didn't help. He simply watched, waiting to see if Manny could extricate himself. After several frantic twists and turns, Manny emerged, short of breath and definitely not intimidating. Barry let out a low chuckle. "You're too tense," the barracuda said. "Confidence doesn't come from fake spines or forced postures. It comes from accepting yourself and understanding the power you do have. What good is being a lionfish if your personality can't back it up?" Manny frowned. He appreciated the advice, but the part about authenticity only reminded him of his fiasco with the seaweed costume. "Thanks, Barry," he said anyway, giving a polite bob of his fins before swimming away. Maybe the real answer was to track down an actual lionfish and learn from the source. He found Lester, the lionfish, near a coral outcropping. With spines proudly extended, Lester surveyed the waters for any fish foolish enough to get too close. Manny gulped. Approaching Lester wasn't for the faint of heart. Lionfish were known for their poisonous spines, which, mentally, Manny had always considered the ultimate hallmark of intimidation. Gathering his courage, Manny swam forward at a respectful distance. Lester's eyes locked on Manny immediately, and Manny felt an involuntary shiver. "Halt!" Lester snapped in a low, resonant voice. "You do well to keep your distance, little clownfish. Best that you remain unpoked by my spines." Manny paused, giving Lester a wide berth. "I'm Manny," he managed, "and I've been so inspired by you, I want to learn to be more lionfish-like. I want to be respected, maybe even feared." Lester slowly blinked once, then let out a soft, rippling laugh. "Why would you want that, little clownfish? Lionfish don't exactly have friends or admirers around here, only fish that avoid or resent us." "But you command the seas," Manny said, starry-eyed. "Everyone yields to you. Isn't that what it means to be powerful?" Lester's frilled fins gently rippled in an unseen current, and he regarded Manny with an almost fatherly gaze. "Yes, they keep away, but do you see any buddies around me? It's lonely, Manny. Intimidation garners caution from others but rarely trust. Is that really what you want?" Manny felt his heart sink. The idea of being ostracized had never crossed his mind. He had been so envious of Lester's presence, he hadn't considered the potential isolation. "Well, I suppose I hadn't thought of that. I might have the respect of smaller fish," Lester continued, "but it's the tense, wary kind of respect. And it doesn't lead to companionship. If one chooses intimidation as a tool, one must accept what it brings and what it repels." "But maybe your spines, your bright stripes, they give you freedom, right?" Manny asked, unsure if he was rationalizing or truly believing that intimidation was the path to a better life. "I have freedom, yes," Lester said, "but that doesn't mean I'm happier than a clownfish. Look, Manny, your species might be small and cute, but you have more than intimidation going for you. You have communities, anemones that protect you, and a certain charm that warms the hearts of the creatures around you, even if a few big bullies might poke fun." Manny was left pensive as Lester glided away to continue his solitary patrol. The lionfish's words gnawed at Manny's mind. Had he really been willing to trade all the warmth and camaraderie in his life just to look scary? Determined to prove, if not to the reef, then to himself, that he could still muster respect without isolating everyone, Manny came up with an ambitious plan. He decided to stage a fearsome roar, figuratively speaking, to save someone in danger. If he could just rescue a fish from a lurking predator, they would see Manny as courageous instead of cutesy. Maybe then the entire reef would talk about Manny the Brave, Manny the Protector, Manny the not to be taken lightly. When Manny heard that Big Blue, a massive grouper, had been prowling near the edge of the reef, he hatched a plan. Big Blue frequently spooked small fish, and Manny suspected that if he could stand up to Big Blue in front of an audience, the reef dwellers would talk about it for days. So Manny set out to the reef's boundary, scanning for Big Blue's characteristic dark silhouette. He kept telling himself, "Confidence, channel your inner lionfish, don't show fear." Finally, after what felt like hours, Manny spotted the large grouper resting near a cluster of rocks. A butterfly fish was ambling unsuspectingly through the water, drifting dangerously close to Big Blue. This is my chance, Manny thought. He darted forward in a furious swirl, ignoring the pounding of his heart. He reached the butterfly fish just as Big Blue took notice, but Manny didn't stop. He positioned himself between predator and prey, flaring his fins and trying his best to mimic Barry's commanding posture. With a gulp, Manny barked, "This butterfly fish is off limits, Big Blue. You want to hunt? Do it somewhere else." Big Blue turned a lazy eye toward Manny and seemed momentarily perplexed. Then, the massive fish rumbled with laughter, sending waves of vibration through the water. A clownfish protecting a butterfly fish? Well, this is a new one. Big Blue moved in a slow, predatory arc, testing Manny's resolve. Manny held his ground in the water, heart hammering while he tried not to show any hint of panic. "Go on, Manny," squealed the butterfly fish, petrified. "Tell him to back off." "I said back off," Manny repeated, though his voice quavered slightly. For an instant, Manny thought his legs, or rather his fins, would give out from sheer terror, yet he stayed where he was. Big Blue stroked the water with a powerful flutter of his tail, edging closer, scrutinizing Manny's every move. Then, with a twist of his thick body, he growled, "Fine. I'm not that hungry anyway. Have it your way, clown." With a final tail slap, Big Blue turned and swam off into the gloom, leaving Manny feeling both triumphant and slightly trembling. The butterfly fish squeaked with delight. "You saved me, Manny," she exclaimed, circling him with excitement. "I thought I was a goner for sure." Nearby reef dwellers who had watched from behind cover emerged with wide eyes and grateful smiles. They swarmed Manny with praise. "That was so brave." They gushed. Manny stood up to Big Blue. "I guess clownfish are made of sterner stuff than we knew." Flustered but pleased, Manny tested a heroic grin. The wave of admiration filled him with an undeniable sense of pride. "Maybe I don't need to look like a lionfish," he thought, savoring the feeling, standing up for those who need help. That might earn me respect anyway. Word of Manny's heroics spread like a school of speeding anchovies. Within days, Manny noticed a shift in how other fish treated him. They no longer patted him on the head like a cute child. They approached him with something like genuine respect, even if it was tinged with a certain comedic affection. Manny was, after all, still a clownfish. But Manny realized that was okay. He didn't need to trade away his sense of self. There was a kind of power in being small, yet bold. He paid Pinto another visit, returning the battered lionfish suit. Pinto grinned. "I heard about your showdown with Big Blue," he said. "Guess you don't need this doohickey after all, huh?" "No, I don't," Manny agreed, handing over the spines and the leftover adhesive with a sheepish smile. "You did a great job with it, but it turns out I don't have to pretend to be something else. I just had to believe in who I already am." Pufferfish seldom get teary-eyed, but Pinto looked proud in his puffy way. "I always suspected you might figure that out." Next, Manny sought out Barry the Barracuda, who'd positioned himself near a swirling eddy to hunt. Manny mustered his courage and gave a polite bob of greeting. "Hey, Barry, I just wanted you to know that I took your advice about confidence. I stood up to Big Blue the other day." Barry raised an impressed eyebrow. "You faced off against that grouper? Now, that's bold." He studied Manny for a moment. "So, how'd it feel to drop the act and stand up for someone out of genuine courage?" "It felt real." And I think everyone respects that more than any lionfish costume, Manny admitted, with a satisfied flick of his tail. Barry gave a toothy grin of approval. Finally, Manny sought out Jelly. The old jellyfish was drifting near the coral ridges, as drifting jellyfish often do, still lost in its own translucent world. Manny approached slowly. "Jelly," he began, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You were right about illusions being nothing compared to authenticity. I guess I had to try and fail to appreciate your wisdom, though." Jelly gave a gentle shimmy. "We all have illusions at some point, Manny. Part of growing up is realizing that your true strength comes from being at ease with yourself. No need to mimic a lionfish if you already have the heart of a lionfish inside you." Those words sank into Manny like a comforting wave, and he knew they were true. He might still be the comedic, bright orange fish who made others giggle from time to time, but he was also the fish that stood up to danger when it counted. Perhaps the undersea community would never see him as the menacing creature he'd once longed to be, but he'd earned their respect in another way, by being brave for all the right reasons. A few days later, Manny found himself back at the anemone, the same old home where he'd first confided his envy to the swaying tentacles. The anemone quivered as Manny settled in, looking around at the vibrant reef's home. It was teeming with color and life. Swirling schools of antheas, busy cleaner shrimp dancing in between the fins of bigger fish, and the occasional gentle passing of a sea turtle. There was so much Manny loved about this place that had nothing to do with intimidation. He spotted a group of young clownfish playing chase near a patch of seaweed. One of them giggled at Manny. "Hey Manny, want to play tag?" Manny considered, remembering how, not too long ago, he might have bristled at the invitation. Play tag? That sounded too silly, too clownish for the big bad Manny he'd once wanted to become. Yet now he saw it differently. "Sure," Manny said, a grin stretching wide across his face. With a flick of his tail, he darted after the youngsters, swirling among the corals, weaving around anemones. Laughter bubbled up inside him, and he realized something important. In the end, being a clownfish wasn't so bad. His stripes and bright colors might never instill fear, but they made him part of a community built on warmth, fun, and mutual support. As the tiny clownfish squealed and tried to evade Manny, he saw the older fish around them smiling some, even cheering Manny on as he zoomed and turned in graceful arcs. So what if he wasn't a lionfish? He might have been slightly less regal or dangerous, but his newfound confidence and courage made him shine in a different way, and the reef embraced that brightness wholeheartedly. In a moment of exuberance, Manny darted upward, tail flipping, bowing out from the game for just a second. He looked down on the reef below, letting the sun's light refract through the water, painting him in the shimmering glow. He took in the sight of all his fellow reef dwellers, the friends and neighbors who accepted him. Over in the distance, he even spotted Lester, those venomous spines gently dancing in the subtle current. Lester caught Manny's eye, and for a brief moment Manny could swear the lionfish nodded in respect. Manny nodded back. Yes, maybe Manny had started out wanting to appear formidable, wanting to be something he wasn't, but along the way he discovered that true strength came from within, an inner resolve that didn't rely on flashy stripes or poisonous spines. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, it was heart and courage that resonated most. Manny gave one last whooping cackle of delight and swooped back into the game of tag, to the cheers of his new admirers. Before long, his swimming turned into diving acrobatics, weaving in and out of pink corals and wide-lipped shells, showing off not an intimidating nature, but a fearless joy. It was the kind of playful ferocity that Manny had tried so hard to mimic with costumes, only now it wasn't a facade. It was genuine, electrifying confidence fused with the clownfish's inherent silliness, and to anyone who saw Manny's radiant expression, it was clear that no lionfish had ever been prouder or more satisfied with who they were. That night, as Manny nestled into his anemone, he thought about how different he felt from the clownfish, who first envied the lionfish's spines. Sure, he might never have the striking caution stripes or venomous barbs, but what he did have no lionfish costume in the world could simulate: a bond with his reef community, an ability to stand up for others, and a spirit of fun that brought laughter to an environment that could sometimes be harsh. Settling into the gentle sway of the anemone's tendrils, Manny realized that he didn't need to impress the entire ocean to find self-worth. He didn't have to be a lionfish when being Manny the clownfish was enough, more than enough, actually. In that quiet moment, the water around him teemed with glittering plankton under a soft moonlit glow. Manny felt a profound sense of belonging that no intimidating costume could ever provide. He closed his eyes and drifted off to a peaceful sleep, content in the knowledge that real confidence isn't just about looking scary or commanding fear. It's about embracing your uniqueness, daring to protect the ones you care for, and shining your own light in the vast depths of the sea. And in the swirling hush of the nighttime current, Manny's final waking thought was a gentle reaffirmation. Being a clownfish was, in its own way, a pretty bold thing to be.